Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. And I rise tonight to once again express my strong support for the elections scheduled to take place in Honduras on November 29th. Though much of the recent news coming out of Honduras has been focused on the current round of talks between the representatives of Manuel Zelaya and the current Honduran government, one thing has remained constant through it all: the Honduran elections that are scheduled to take place on November 29th. The most recent talks began with both sides agreeing that the election should proceed ahead as planned. Predictably, however, now that Zelaya is realizing that he won't be able to jump back into his throne of power as easily as he expected, he and his supporters have started to call for boycotts and non-recognition of the elections. Not surprisingly, Zelaya's ALBA fan club, headed by Venezuela's Hugo Chavez, got together this weekend in Bolivia. The ALBA League of Oppressors and Dictators in Waiting issued a statement stating that neither the Honduran electoral process nor its outcome should be recognized by the international community unless Zelaya has been restored to power. The United States must have no part in these efforts. They're undermining and legitimizing the Honduran election. We've got to make sure that we recognize the validity of this process, and we should say to the world that we must recognize the free will of the Honduran people to express their desires in the ballot box. The United States cannot play wingman to tyrants who dismiss the fundamental civil liberties and forsake constitutional commitments. We should be proud of our democratic standards and not fear standing alone, if necessary, against those who work against the freedom agenda. Despite tremendous world pressure and punishment, the people of Honduras have remained true to their democracy and their constitution, and the November 29th elections are just one more testament to their unwavering commitment. Tomorrow I will be hosting a members' briefing open to all members, Republicans and Democrats, with the members of the Honduran Supreme Electoral Tribunal. This will afford an opportunity for members from both sides of the aisle to discuss the measures being undertaken in Honduras to ensure that the November elections proceed as scheduled. I invite all of my colleagues again to please join us for this important discussion. Though we may have differing views regarding the approach that the United States has taken to the situation in Honduras, I'm hopeful that free, fair, clean, transparent elections is the way that we can all unite. This is something, a concept that all Americans should agree. U.S. policy has historically recognized and even encouraged the implementation of elections as a necessary step to moving forward from an untenable political situation. Just this past August, as a matter of fact, Secretary of State Clinton visited Angola, where she emphasized repeatedly the importance of holding timely, free, and fair presidential elections in Angola. Each year, the United States spends millions and millions of our tax dollars to support elections through our democratic form of government and to make sure that we promote governance programs around the world. So why then does the U.S. commitment to and support of elections fade away when it comes to Honduras? It should not. It must not. A stable, secure, democratic Honduras is what is in the best interest of the United States. This election that will take place on November 29th offers us the perfect opportunity for this to happen. Free, fair, democratic elections. I urge the State Department to encourage international observers to participate in these upcoming elections, and I encourage my fellow colleagues to go to Honduras for themselves. Go now and go for the elections. See for yourselves what we are dealing with and the impact that the U.S. policy is having on a democratic ally, a friend of the United States. And again, I welcome all of my colleagues to join me tomorrow for a briefing with members of the Honduran Supreme Electoral Tribunal. Let the democracy take root once again in Honduras. Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I yield back the balance of my time.
Mr. Grayson of Florida. Mr. Moran of Kansas, you will be recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.